Today on the Gilbert.K Show, we're diving into the global film industry with Carley, CEO of Film Export UK, a powerhouse shaping how British films travel the world. From film sales and government policy to empowering women in the arts, Grace has been at the center of UK film exports and international cinema for over a decade. Let's give a big welcome to the one and only Carley.
Hey, Grace, how are you today? It's an honor to have you on the show.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here. It's a cold and wet night in London.
Yeah, and here in Toronto, it's sunny, but it's a little bit cold. Okay, so let's start with our first segment, childhood and early path. Before we start, would you please explain briefly to our audience, what does Film Export UK do?
Okay, it's basically a trade body for film sales companies. That is, film companies who sell independent films worldwide. And they're all based in the UK, but they don't necessarily only sell UK films. They sell films from around the world, but the whole purpose is to cover as many territories as possible, to sell into as many territories as possible across a wide range of media.
Okay, excellent. So when you were growing up, what first drew you to the world of stories and cinema? Was there a particular film or experience that lit the spark?
I wouldn't say so, really. I mean, my earliest memory is probably the sound of music in, a cinema in Cork in Ireland. So that was, quite a long way away from the lights and the action. And to be honest, film was not where I saw myself going. I was more inclined to think of doing, well, I mean, I like every 7-year-old, I wanted to be an actress. But, later on, I wanted to do journalism, which I pursued for a while. But then this role came up at the Irish Film Board, which had just been set up by the government. And I interviewed and got it, and it was like, okay, I've got a job. Great. and I'm afraid it's been downhill from there, really, because when you get sucked into the film business and it kind of doesn't let you go.
That's great. Probably your answer. Have you ever imagined as a child that you'd end up shaping the international path of British cinema, or did your journey into film sales and export take you by surprise? I think you already answered, kind of.
Yeah, if I look back on, the path through the Irish Film Board and then into the international market, I mean, that kind of, I suppose, has a trajectory. But certainly, as a child, you don't really think about jobs like that. You don't know they exist.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So were there early members, early mentors, teachers, or even family influences that pushed you toward a career in the arts and film rather than a more traditional path?
Not really. I mean, my trajectory was really going to be very sort of traditional. My parents were both, sort of middle class. My father was a management consultant. My mother was an occupational therapist. And 2 of my brothers are lawyers, so I'm a bit of an outlier from that point of view. But, I guess I've always thought I'd end up somewhere in the arts. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So as a kid, did you take classes, art classes?
I mean, drama, elocution, all those things, all the kind of, self-improvement stuff that middle-class mothers like to impose upon their children. The only thing I was spared was piano.
Okay. Wow. Okay, we're going to take a break and we're going to play a game. It's called This or That. And it's in this game, it's a rapid fire game for the audience to get to know you. Are you ready, Grace?
Okay.
Okay. Art house cinema or global box office hits?
Art house.
London Film Festival or Cannes?
Cannes.
Sales agent or producers, who has the harder job?
Oh, of course it's the sales agent.
Streaming deal or theatrical run?
Ooh, both, please.
Established talent or debut filmmakers?
Debut filmmakers, more interesting.
Classic British drama or experimental indie?
Experimental indie.
Indeed. In person, film market, networking, or virtual pitches?
Oh, in person every time.
Long festival run or fast commercial release?
Fast commercial release.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next segment, career, leadership, and insights. Running stranger than fiction film sales for over a decade must have been a crash course in global film markets. What lessons from that period still guide your decisions today?
Well, even though I was active probably from, 87, 88, and it was a very different time, but at the same time, not that much has changed. I mean,
Yeah,
the getting films to market was much more cumbersome. I mean, literally physically, you would be, you'd have to go to Cannes with your 35mm print under your arm. And you're setting up an office in Cannes or at Toronto or whatever, would
yeah,
require, a huge amount of planning and installation of telephones and all of that kind of thing. And now you can go to one of those markets with your laptop.
yeah,
And you'll have all your trailers and you'll have your, everything on your laptop.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas, it was very, very, and you have your mobile phone, it works everywhere in the world. So, it was pretty hard work, but it was great fun when you're that young as well.
yeah,
Well, as I say, I mean, even though the physical manifestation has changed, the films don't change. The need for content doesn't change because, okay, there are different outlets now, but
yeah,
it kind of feels like the same thing, even all these years later.
yeah, yeah. Um, so, what was the hardest challenge you faced moving from independent sales into the senior civil servant role at the DCMC, Department for Culture, Media and Sport in the UK?
It was like the biggest sort of culture shock you can imagine.
Yeah,
Because I went from, independent film sales, as you say, which was pretty rough and ready.
yeah,
Um, and it's a tough enough business and you have to fight your corner, to an atmosphere which was very polite and well mannered. And it was the early days of the Blair government here, the Tony Blair government.
wow,
And it was a very, positive time. And there was tons of money sloshing around for the arts. I mean, much more than there is now. I mean,
yeah,
even in real terms or historical terms. So
yeah.
it was a great experience, but I did have to sort of learn how to be, well behaved and polite.
So you've worked with the BFI, British Film Institute, Arts Council England, and Film London. What's one thing those institutions taught you about connecting British cinema to the world?
Wow, that is a tough question. I mean, I think what we have, um, you know, an advantage in is that we as the UK film business do somewhat punch above our weight.
Yeah.
And, we have a lot of soft power around the world, um, be it, because of speaking the English language, but
Hmm.
also because of, a lot of classical references like Dickens and Austen that seem to resonate over and over. I mean, they never stop making Jane Austen films.
Yeah.
Um, so it is, you can get UK films out into the world slightly more easily than, say, French or German or whatever.
So what's the biggest misconception people have about UK film exports?
I'm not sure how I would answer that. I mean, if you're talking, are you talking generic export of UK films? Or
Yeah.
yes, okay. I mean, I think that outside of our sort of inner circle, that people don't understand just how difficult it is to export films, because, and every phase of my life, people have said, "Oh, it's never been this bad," but I honestly think it has never been this bad.
Wow.
Because the business model changes quite a lot, but right now, the lack of peripheral outlets be
Yeah.
for film is making it quite difficult, because you either have theatrical and then streamers, or if
Yeah.
you don't get theatrical, you're not in a very strong position with the streamers and you won't get very much money. And there's
Yeah.
really very little DVD, there's very little video on demand. I mean, we used to have, video, DVD, video on demand,
Yeah.
terrestrial TV, which seems to have just disappeared,
Yeah.
pay TV. But now it's just, it's either the streamers or nothing. So that's really tough.
Yeah, they used to say, like, in the old, not the old days, like few years back, actually, before the streaming, like you were saying, the DVD market was good for independent filmmakers because they used to get back their money. And now it's like it's more difficult and more challenging to do that.
Well,
So
much more.
yeah, much more. So how do you go through that? Like, if you're an independent filmmaker, so you're saying, is it you have to try, I guess, to go through the theater first, and then the value will go up, and then you go to streaming? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty much the way it works. But I mean, it's interesting because despite the difficulties, there seems to be an uptick in genre.
That's true. Yeah.
So my clients who deal with more genre films tend to do better than
Yeah.
the classic drama or the sort of more respectable UK films.
Yeah. And also, like, I hear, like, horror, it seems the easiest now for some reason.
Sure, and
It's not.
it can be cheap to produce, and that can sell very well.
Yeah, and you don't need the
So,
stars attached to them, so you
no,
can just
no.
be able to sell them as long as you have a good story and all that stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you can't just sell any old crap, but
That's true.
But I mean, it does amuse me because, one of my lovely members has a film called Lesbian Space Princess, which is an animated film, and it is doing better than almost anything else right now.
Yeah.
And it's just a load of fun, and it's tongue in cheek and whatever. But
And
you have to be prepared to be sort of adventurous and diversify, I think.
that's true. I heard Sam Raimi, the director, when he started, he made a horror film, and he showcased it at Cannes Film Festival. Not at the Cannes Film Festival. He rented a screen somewhere by close to the Cannes Film Festival, and he said it premiered at Cannes. And for some reason in the States, the market didn't want the film, but it was sold to the British market, and it did very well, actually, in the British market, and then the States at the end bought the rights from Sam. So it's amazing how
Well, that wasn't Evil Dead, though, no?
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
No, I mean, I had a similar experience with the little-known New Zealand director Peter Jackson, because
Yeah.
I did his first 3 films, and
what?
we debuted Brain Dead at Cannes, and it was like one of these guerrilla marketing campaigns where
Yeah.
we didn't even tell people where it was going to be shown until just before them. So we built up a lot of momentum around it.
Yeah.
And, just sort of flyered everything and bothered people with, publicity and so on. And we did gangbusters with it.
Wow.
Back in the day, you could do that.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for filmmakers with the streaming, I guess, and social media? Probably now it's cheaper for the filmmakers to advertise on social media and stuff. Is there, like, any tips or recommendations you have to launch the film?
Gosh, I don't know. It's really, I mean, everything is so crowded, isn't it, out there?
Yeah.
It's okay, you've got social media and it's cheaper, but it's so noisy. And how do
That's
you
true.
break through? I mean, I really don't know. I think young people have got to be a lot cleverer than I at doing that kind of thing, because, I mean, to me, it's a mystery, really. I mean, unfortunately, the traditional routes are still probably the strongest in terms of,
Yeah,
film festivals and film markets and so on. But, if you can build up a really clever social media campaign, if you can reach a lot of people, if you can, get your millions going, then great. But, it's all out there.
that's true. That's true. Um, okay. In the streaming era, do you think British films are finding new audiences abroad faster than ever, or are they getting lost in the global noise?
I think they still have an advantage with, being English language, having the cultural kind of kudos that they
Yeah.
have. They can still do okay. There is a real difficulty around Europe at the moment
Hmm.
because, Britain is a bit of a pariah in Europe,
Yeah.
post Brexit. And, for example, the European Film Award nominations were announced yesterday or today. And there are two British films in a very, very minor section of the awards
Hmm.
and none in the major section. And
Wow.
I feel that there is a real pushback at that level
Yeah.
against British films, even though I think the audiences still want to see them.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Um, could you share an example of a UK film that succeeded overseas in unexpected territory and what that taught you about global audience?
Well, nobody knows anything. We know that. you
Yeah.
know,
And it
it's
depends on the project, right? Every
every film is a prototype. You just don't know what's going to work. But I mean, just interestingly, I was reading. It was a profile of Ewan McGregor the other day, and um, he was saying that nobody expected Train Spotting to work.
yeah.
They thought they were making a really, down and dirty, kind of pretty nasty movie. They did not think it was going to take off in the way it did. Now, that's not quite what you asked.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was looking, recently just talking to people about the Chinese market, which is, should be so lucrative, is so difficult to break into. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, bizarrely, something like, and this is a TV series, not a film, but something like Sherlock is hugely
Mhm.
successful there.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the one with Benedict Cumberbatch,
Yeah.
the UK BBC thing. So you just never quite know with
Yeah.
markets like that, and particularly China, which is really,
Yeah.
no idea what's going to work there. And also, it's really, really hard to sell in there.
Yeah. What's the reason for that? Is it the
I mean, it's kind of, isolationism a bit.
yeah.
The American studios work very hard to get their films in, but there was a very strict quota on how many films they were allowed to be released. So
Oh,
even the big American blockbusters, they can be shut out too.
yeah.
Um, and I mean, it's frustrating because if you can have a hit in China, you can have like a massive hit because it's
Oh, yeah.
obviously a huge population, and
Yeah.
they love the cinema. I mean, a big success in China will generate billions. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
biggest film last year was called Na Wei 2, which was a
Yeah.
Chinese animated, which grossed more than any other film in the world. You know,
Wow.
and it was just in China.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah,
Probably they're trying to protect their films, is it probably? Or,
yeah.
so we're gonna take a final break and we're gonna play a game true or false, and it's time to test some facts about your life and career. Are you ready,
Oh,
Grace?
I'm going to have to remember.
Okay. True or false? UK film exports are more dependent on festival buzz than marketing budgets.
I don't know. I think. I think. I think false because we basically do markets rather than festivals.
Yeah. True or false? Brexit has made film sales more complex but more creative.
No, it's just made it worse.
True or false? The US is still the most critical market for British cinema.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The US is still the most critical market for British cinema.
Yes, if you can sell in there,
Okay,
but
okay.
sometimes you just don't get near it. So
I'm getting it. True or false, streaming platforms are the biggest friend, not enemy of UK sales agents.
false.
True or false, government tax incentives are more important than creative innovation in getting films sold abroad.
I would say true.
True or false, UK film agents need to focus more on branding British cinema as a global identity.
False.
And true or false, film festivals are no longer the best launchpad for international sales.
False.
And finally, true or false, in 10 years, the role of a UK film sales agent will look completely different.
False.
Okay, and our final segment, Future Vision. As a chief executive at Film Export UK, what new markets are you most excited about in British cinema in the next 5 years?
They're not necessarily new markets, but the ones that we cannot penetrate, that we
Ah,
must penetrate. And I would
yeah,
say China and India, because they've
okay,
both become incredibly difficult.
yeah, yeah. And if you could redesign one UK film policy or funding structure to instantly help sales agents, what would it be?
It would be to reverse the effects of Brexit, because it has shut the sales agents out of all of the European initiatives. So, I mean, for
Okay,
example, if you're selling a film to France, Germany, Spain, they can
yeah,
access European money to help with the release, but not anymore. Because they can do it for their films, but they won't do it for a UK film. So they'll choose not to buy a UK film.
wow, okay,
And
okay.
that's only one small effect of Brexit.
Is it the funding from the European Film Commission, right? Or somewhere else,
Yeah,
probably?
it's from it's called Eurimage.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and then they can put up a lot of funding, for a multi-territory release, which is really
Okay,
helpful.
yeah, yeah. Wow. And how do you see the role of film festivals evolving? Are they still the best gateway for UK films into the global market?
They are for some. I mean, there are so many film festivals in the world. There's like one every day.
Yeah,
And, if you can get into a Cannes or a Berlin or a Toronto, obviously that's a big leap forward for your film. But
yeah,
there are many others that are more, I guess, genre related, and some of them are really useful. Um, they're probably good for the territory in which they're taking place
yeah.
rather than for, global sales.
Hmm.
But I think they're still valid, and I think they're important to get people out to watch films in the
Yeah.
cinema.
Wow. Wow. So what advice would you give to a young UK sales agent or filmmaker trying to break into international trade today?
Don't do it. Get a real job.
No, that-
No, I mean,
uh,
I say that with a certain degree of levity, but it's a tough job, but there are still opportunities out there. But you've
yeah,
got to have. I mean, the younger people that I see now, I mean, they've got a fantastic breadth of knowledge about film.
yeah,
It's not just about the sales; it's about really knowing, where their films come from, where they fit in, the big greater ecosystem of
yes,
film. So they can talk knowledgeably to the buyers and say, look, this film is like this, and this did that much, and this did that much, and they have to be
yeah,
really, tuned in and bright and know where what has worked before, what will work in the future,
yeah,
who's up, down in each territory. We just got to be, on top of the game, basically.
yeah, 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 yeah. So when you think about the future of UK film export post Brexit, what keeps you optimistic?
Not a lot. I mean, seriously, I mean, Brexit has been such a harm, not to
Yeah,
just the film business, to this entire country. I mean, don't get me started. So,
yeah, yeah.
um, but, I don't know how my member companies keep going, but they do, because
Yeah,
there's like this kind of, doggedness, and they find ways around things. They're so nimble.
yeah, yeah.
There's 28 companies within my sort of umbrella, and they range from like almost to kind of a multinational, multi functional company with someone
Yeah.
like uh, Protagonist, which is a really big company here, and
Yeah.
then you all the way down to like a one-man band, and they survive. They just keep going. They find different ways around things. They find
Yeah.
solutions to problems. I mean, they are so much more um what is the word, they're so much more effective in finding
Hmm.
solutions than, let's say, the bigger companies, to be honest.
Yeah. So do they tap into private funding maybe for like for marketing and stuff? Because you
There
mentioned
really
that
isn't any available. I mean, there is
there's
some
no.
funding available through the British Film Institute, but it's quite hard to access. Um,
Okay.
and it's really, and particularly for the smaller companies, because, the applications are very onerous. So the
Yeah.
bigger companies, can actually, employ a person to just do that. Whereas, the
Okay.
smaller companies just give up because it's so hard. But I mean, there's a section in the British Film Institute called the Global Screen Fund,
Hmm.
and they are all about international, and they have just got a huge uplift in their funding, and
Hmm.
they are much more um, conscious of their need to engage with the film export members, because they are obviously bridge to the international market.
Okay.
There is some optimism.
Yeah. 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 There's some ways to go
Yeah.
around it. Yeah. Great. Um, and so looking back, what legacy do you hope to leave, not just as an executive, but as someone who has shaped how the world sees British cinema?
Um, Gosh, that's a tough one, because I would love to say that there was a real strategy behind that,
Yeah.
but we're really not. We don't differentiate between British cinema that we're representing and the other films that my members represent, because, as I said earlier, that they
Yes.
source
International.
their films from all around the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we do umbrella stands in places like Berlin and Toronto, obviously there is a big focus on the UK element.
Yeah.
And I hope we represent it well. I mean, I don't think about legacy. I'm too busy just, getting through the day, really.
Okay. Okay. And finally, you're such an inspiration to the film industry, and especially women. If you look straight into the camera and speak to young girls and women stepping into the arts, whether that's directing, producing, film sales, or film festival programmers, what's the one message you want them to carry on the days they doubt themselves, and what practical steps should they take this week to claim a seat at the table?
Well, I think every woman must remember that if she thinks she's up to a job, she is probably much more suited for it than a man. Because, the statistic where, um, if a man looks at a job description and says, "Oh, I could do about 40% of this, I'll apply," and a woman will look at it and say, "Well, I can do 85% of this, I'm not good enough." I think basically, they have to basically say, "I'm good enough to do this. I can do this."
Yeah.
But it does worry me that, particularly in this country, I don't know what the statistics are worldwide, that films directed by women are still
Low.
horribly represented. I
Yeah.
mean, I did a survey for, I think it was the BFI, where, looking back over 30 years, there were some years where no films at all, no UK films at all, were directed by women. And I believe
Wow.
the statistic in the last year or two has been about 20%, but that's not good enough. And I think people have to really fight to have women behind the camera, and they have to make the environment of filmmaking much more conducive to allow people to allow women to actually have a life and to be able to direct films.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. We're Grace, we're nearing the end of the show. That's all, folks. Thank you for watching. Grace, Carley, everyone. Thank you, Grace.
You're very welcome. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you.